Hi, this is Kate, and we're solving story problems with algebra. The perimeter of a rectangular tennis court is 228 feet. If the length of the court is 6 feet longer than twice its width, find its dimensions. Let's choose the important information. The perimeter is 228. It's a rectangular tennis court. Well, who cares if it's a tennis court? It's a rectangle. The length is 6 longer than twice the width. Okay, so if the width is 10, the length is 6 more than 20, or 26. Since it's a rectangle, the opposite sides are equal length. Since we want the perimeter to be 228, we want all four sides to add up to 228. So 10 isn't correct. We need the sides to be longer. What if the width is 50? Then the length is 6 more than 100, or 106. The opposite sides are the same. Do those add up to 228? No, they're too big now. We'll probably get the right answer eventually this way, but it might take a while. And what if the correct width is a fraction? That might be hard to guess. So we are going to do it with algebra. These 4 steps will be useful for any word problem in any math class, all the way through calculus. First, we draw a picture or a diagram. Then write down the given information and what we want to find. Next, write an equation and solve it. Finally, make sure we answered the question. So first we draw a diagram. The problem's about a rectangle, so we draw a rectangle. Next, write down the information from the problem. What do we want to find? The dimensions. That means length and width. It also tells us the length is 6 more than double the width, and the perimeter is 228. Now the length depends on the width. Here's where algebra starts to be useful and come into play. Let's call the width W. What expression do you think makes sense for the length? Six more than double the width can be written as 2 times W plus 6. The perimeter is 228. That means all the sides add up to 228. So we can write an equation. All 4 sides add up to 228. Now please use your mad equation solving skills to solve this for W. You should have gotten 36. Here's how. Combine the like terms on the left side. There are 6 W's altogether, and the 6 plus 6 makes 12. Next, we subtract 12 from both sides, yielding 6W equals 216. Then divide both sides by 6, so W equals 36. So we have half the answer. The width is 36. We know the length is double that plus 6. So what is the length? If we double 36, we get 72, and then add 6 to get 78. So the length is 78. We finally just want to check to make sure we answered the question. It asked us to find the dimensions, so we're done. We're just going to draw a box around our answer. Find 4 consecutive odd integers whose sum is 112. That's a lot of information in a short sentence. Let's unpack it. It's asking us to find 4 numbers, so we know our answer will be a list of 4 numbers. They're consecutive, which means one right after the other. For example, if I asked you to name consecutive days of the week, you might say Thursday, Friday, Saturday. These numbers should be odd, meaning they're not even. They're not divisible by 2. So like 11 and 39 are odd numbers, 14 and 20 are even numbers, you remember. Finally, these 4 consecutive odd numbers should sum to 112. I know you've seen the word sum before, so what does this phrase mean? A sum is what you get when you add. So we could just try 4 consecutive odd numbers until we get lucky. Let's see. 11, 13, 15, 17. Nope, those only add up to 56. Not big enough. How about 35, 37, 39, 41? Nope, those add up to 152. Too much. Let's see how we can do it with algebra. To draw a picture, we're looking for 4 odd numbers in a row, like this. Write down the information. Find a list of 4 odd numbers, and their sum should be 112. Now here's where the algebra will help us. We have to start somewhere, so let's call the first number n. Then the next odd number will have to be 2 more than that. Like if n was 11, 13 would be n plus 2. If n was 25, the next one, 27, would be n plus 2. What do you think comes next? Two more than n plus 2 would be n plus 4. Then finally, the last number can be represented by n plus 6. We know these 4 numbers sum to 112, so we can write an equation. Use your equation solving skills to find n. You should have gotten n equals 25. If you didn't, go back and check your work carefully. Now we just need to answer the question. What are the 4 consecutive odd integers going to be? N was 25, and the rest are the next 3 odd integers. So the answer is 25, 27, 29, and 31. It would be a great idea at this point to grab a calculator and make sure that those 4 numbers do indeed add up to 112. Alice had 198 candies and Claire had 74. Alice gave Claire some candies, so now they have the same number. How many candies does Alice have now? So we draw a picture as best as we can. This is about 2 girls, and they have candy. Alice has more. The information from the problem is, we want to find out how much Alice ends up with. Alice loses the same number that Claire receives. And they end up with equal amounts. In our picture, we want to show Alice giving Claire an amount. We don't know how much, so we'll give it a letter, x. And this amount, when she transfers it over, should make the 2 piles even. Alice ends up with 198 minus x, and Claire ends up with 74 plus x. So what equation can we write to model the situation? They end up with equal amounts, and we can represent Alice's final amount with 198 minus x and Claire's with 74 plus x. Now solve this equation for x. How many candies does Alice give Claire? You should have gotten 62. First, get the x's together by adding x to both sides. Then subtract 74 from both sides, and finally divide by 2. Have we answered the question yet? Did it ask how many does Alice give Claire? Nope. It asked how many does Alice end up with? What do you think is the final answer to the problem? She started with 198 and gave away 62. That means she ended up with 136. You've learned a process you can use to tackle any word problem. Do it with algebra. First, draw a picture or a diagram, then write down the given information and what you want to find. Next, write an equation and solve it. And finally, make sure you answered the question. This is Kate, and you've been solving story problems with algebra.